something that you might want to look at later. Hi, Sammy. All right, so just a few things that I put up on D2L. I'm just going to sort of bring your attention to them. So you know there's a final exam is going to be on the 18th, which is, well, today's Tuesday, is it, or Wednesday?
Monday.
Yeah, so that's going to be a Monday. There you go, like it says, Monday. 8 o'clock, and these are the things that I know about the exam. Basically, I've told you everything I know. This section, this is section 21, right? Yeah, so your room for that exam is 10134, so that's in the room next door. So you'll be going there. Safe will be your invigilator, won't be me. I got 4 sections, so I can't do all of them. So they got me doing section 15. If you want to see more details about the exam, you can check on this. And you can zoom in on that or download it, but you can see all of your exams in there and where they are and that type of thing. If you need to do that, well, I assume that you do need to do that. What else can I say about the exam? Yeah, there's the exam rules there. Now, I noticed that the exam rules, it says face masks are optional, but I know at least one of my teacher colleagues has said that he's going to make the students wear a face mask. Okay, so be prepared for that. At least bring one with you so you don't end up sort of getting thrown out of the room. On the other hand, if you think that you can stand up with the school director and sort of say, well, you know, the rules say I don't have to wear a mask. Certainly, I won't be making students wear masks, but you see, I don't really like masks anyways, but some people do. And, you know, so just be prepared that you should bring one in your pocket anyways, just in case. All right. I guess that's, oh yes. The other thing is I won't be in the exam room with you. And so Safe might not know you. And so you do need to bring your ID card with you to do the exam. So we know it's you that's doing the exam. The exam will be a D2L lockdown browser exam, right? So as I said, it'll be 30 questions of multiple choice and then 3 long answer questions. I think that's enough about the exam. The other thing that we've got going is our next lesson after this, we're going to have a quiz. And so that'll be a 30-minute quiz. We'll do that in the first 30 minutes. If anybody wants to stay behind and do something else, we'll be welcome to, but we'll do the quiz straight up in the first 30 minutes. Okay. And so that quiz that will be on our next lesson, that will be 10 questions. 5 questions will be all about loops. And so particularly while loops, how you everything about while loops that we've taught basically. So you'll have to do some tracing of while loops, but you'll also have to answer some questions of theory of while loops, you know, how in Python, you know, is how do we construct a while loop? What does what part thing do, that thing. Likewise, then there'll be 5 questions on functions. And so they will be a little bit about how functions work, but you may have to do a tracing of a function too. Right, I think that's enough on that, right? So today we said we were going to look at assignment 6, and there it is, assignment 6. And so let's, I think I have idle on this computer. So what I noticed when I looked through this, assignment 6 is it's 3 problems, but it's the same problem, just done 3 different ways. So we do the same problem 3 times and we do it 3 different ways. So we'll go through there, but what you'll see is the end result after we've done it the 3rd time is just the first one with some changes to it. So this is assignment 6. And let's go. Let's see what we have to do. So the first thing that we see there, going to do it in idle, blah, blah. All right, make sure the comments. So we're supposed to put our comments in here with our name and student number. Got that. And when we're done, we're going to save it as whatever. So what it does, problem 1, is it asks the user to enter their name and the grades of all the courses they took in the semester. Check the name is composed of only letters. And when the user has entered all the grades, make -1 to indicate that they're done. Calculate the average grade. So you know, to calculate an average, we always do it the same, right? We have a total, which we start out as 0, and we have a count that we start out as 0. We add to the total, we add to the count. At the end, we divide the total by the count, and that gives us our average. So we're going to have, and there's a loop. So we know we're going to have to do that. We're going to have a loop. And the thing is, we also know that the loop is going to be controlled by the grade because it's a sentinel loop. When they enter -1, that's how many they have, right? So we're just going to keep entering grades until they enter a bad name. Oh, sorry, a bad grade, a grade less than, well, exactly -1. So you're going to have a while statement in it, and it's going to be while grade is what? Not equal to -1. That's what our while statement's going to be, and we're going to do these things. Well, what are we going to do in there? We're calculating the average, so we have to have a total. We start that off as 0, and we have to have a count, and the count starts off as 0. And then inside the loop, we're going to read this value, enter your name. Well, we're going to enter the name. That's where we're going to get we have to enter the grade too. So enter the name and the grade. Right. Oh, that's interesting. So we'll have a thing here for name. I just copied that from here, enter your name. And I put it in the wrong place. Now, what I notice about this name is we have to verify the name. The name has to be valid. So we'll have another while loop for that. We'll verify the name. So while the name, now what it says is the name has to be all, what is it? The name is composed only of letters. Well, only letters is alpha. So we do that, is alpha. So while the name is alpha, well, no, that's while the name is not alpha. So while not name is alpha, we're going to come up with this error, which is this error, enter a valid name. You know what? We could do that in the input. We could just say, we could just do that. That's probably, yeah, save typing, right? Why are we going to do a lot of typing? So that's going to, if they type a bad name, we're going to tell them that they have to fix it. Just like that. So we trap that in a error trapping loop. Now we're going to check the grade. So I guess that's the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to read the grade. So reading the grade is going to be equal to enter your grade for course. Okay. So grade takes a value of an input, but it's an input that's been converted to an integer. Or is it an integer or is it a, yeah, it looks like it's an integer. So we're checking there to make sure it's an integer because it could have been a float. It doesn't look like it's a float. Enter the grade. But the problem is it's got this course 1, which is a number, and that's going to change every time we do it. So we can't just print it like that. We have to put a variable in there. So I'm going to add a variable there. Done this 100 times, right? So I mean, you're right with this, I think. Now the variable we're going to add is going to be the count. We're going to do the count, but it won't exactly be the count because our count starts at 0, and we normally don't start counting at 0. We normally start counting at 1. So we'll add 1 to the count just so it looks like normal counting. Okay, so then the while statement, what's going to happen in the while? So inside the while statement, whatever's the grade is going to be added to the total. So just do that. Total, we add the grade to it. And then the other thing is the count is going to be increased. And then we're going to, at the end of the loop, the thing that's controlling the loop is the input. So we're going to put that again at the end of the loop. And there we go. So that should do it, I think. Any other errors we might have? Oh, then we have to calculate the average. So the average will be calculated at the end of the loop, outside the loop, at the end of the loop. And so, well, you could do the, well, let's just do it like this. ABG takes a value of the total divided by the count. And then we've got a print statement. The print statement, I notice, even if they put the name in lowercase, it prints it in capitalized case. So we actually have to take the name and change it to capitalized case. Do you see that? They put in a lowercase Sarah and then print it out like that. So we have to do that in capitalized case. So what we're going to print is we're going to print the name, but in capitalized case. And then we're going to add a string to it. And the string is going to be this thing here, from the comma to there. Well, it's not quite, because the number is separate. Your average for the semester is, okay, so this number is not going to be like that. We get rid of that number, and we would put in, what is the number? The number is going to be the average, because we calculated the average there. I think that would work. What do you think? Any comment? So just looking at it, what happened? Why do we start with a total and a count? Because that's the way we always do a average. We always do an average starting with a total and a count 0. We have to initialize them to 0. And then we have a loop. Well, we've got two loops here. The first loop is just a loop to make sure that we got the right kind of name, right? That's only to make sure we have the right kind of name. Then the next loop, right, I shouldn't have separated it there. The first loop is just, this one's just to make sure we got the right kind of name, right? So I'm just going to separate that out so you can see, right? This is all about just getting the right kind of name. And then, you know, I could have even put these totals nearer to here, I guess, because if I was going to put things together so that they make sense. We kind of got two things going on in this program. The first thing we got going on is we get the name and we check to make sure it's a good name. When we go to change this into functions, that'll be an obvious function. And then we got another thing going on, which is to calculate the average. And so that's basically all of this stuff. I put all that together. That's all calculating the average. And then lastly, we just print it out. Shall we try it? So let's just try the run using the examples that they gave us. So first we try with a name which doesn't meet, which is that's the example that they gave us, and it should say that it's not a valid name. So that's working, but we've done it in a loop so we can put a good name in. If we put in Sarah, then we'll get grade 1 for the first course, 90, 90, 90. I mean, these are weird numbers, but you know, we can just keep going, right? We'll never stop until we do -1. And then there it is, Sarah. It took the name Sarah and converted it to uppercase, did all the other stuff. So what if we look at our code, I probably should have made a space here. Yeah. All right. So that's the first one. Do I need to explain any of that? Is that okay? Make sense? So I reckon you got three parts of the program. We got the part where we get the name, and we're using error trapping to do that. We've done that lots of times before. This other bit, so I might even block those off, right? So this is getting a good name. And then here we have this stuff here is all about the average. So average is going to be a loop. The average always has three parts. Before the loop, we initialize all the variables. Inside the loop, we update all the variables. After the loop, we do our calculation. So that's in three different parts. And then this is just the output. There's our program. Okay, so problem 2. What we're going to do is we have the same problem, but we ask the user we're not going to ask them to enter a -1. We're going to do it by counting. So we're going to have to add something else. If you look here after the name, we ask them how many times or how many courses are they registered to. So it's almost the same, but not quite. So we're going to do this thing the same, get the name, and then we're going to ask them the number of courses. So how would you call it? Course number or number of courses? What would be a good variable name for number of courses you're doing this semester? Semester count, number of courses? What do you like? I don't know. Something that I don't have to type too much. CNUM. CNUM? All right. Yeah. Okay. So CNUM is the number of courses, right? And so that's going to be got from the user. It's going to be an integer, and it's going to be by input. And yeah, we got the code here for, I mean, what is it? How many courses? How many courses you're going to do this semester? So I'll just copy that and put it in there. How many courses are you going to do this semester? And it says 4, right? Well, we don't know what they're going to say. So we got that CNUM. Now the CNUM is going to control the while loop now. So instead of the while loop being controlled by the grade, it's going to be controlled by this. And this is actually going to be, so we're going to have to change our condition so that it is how many courses, So CNUM is going to be part of it. But how are we going to use CNUM there? While something CNUM. Well, we can use the count because the count is there, right? So it's CNUM is how many courses, right? So what we could say is okay, well, while the count is less than the number of the number of courses that they said. So that'll work. Now, the only thing that we have to do now is the grade is no longer controlling the loop. So we're going to take this away from the start of the loop.
We can put while CNUM is less than 0, bigger than 0.
We can do what?
If we put while CNUM bigger than 0.
No. Because it's not, no, we're going to stop when we've got as many courses as they told us. So that's why we say, while count is less than CNUM. So I'm moving things around here because the thing that's going to control the loop, remember, I like to put the thing that controls the loop. I like to put it last thing before the loop, and I like to put it last thing inside the loop, right? So here's our loop. Last thing before the loop is the count. Last thing inside the loop is increment the count. So the count is controlling the loop. And so, yeah, and we're just going to do it how many times? However many times they told us to do it. I don't think we need to make any other changes. I think that's it. So this is problem 2 or something. Let's see. So you enter your name, Anna. right, how many courses do you want to do this semester? I think she said 4. Just looking at it. 4. Of course, I don't know why they're all 90s. Now, if this works, this should just stop now. Yes, it did. It said you got an average of, because it did it exactly 4 times because of the way we did the code here, where we said we're gonna do it as many times as there is that they told us to do it. Basically, CNUM is them telling us how many times to do it, and that's how many times we did it. So that's part 2. Easy peasy. Then the last one is we're going to take the same problem as before, but we're going to do it using a function. You know what? We can use more than one function, I think. Why not? Let's have some fun with functions. Enter the grades, calculate the average. So we got one function, which is going to be this whole average thing, right? That's going to be a function. I think this should be a function too. So I'm actually going to call this function def get name, because that's what it does, right? I even said there, that's what it does. So that's a function. Now everything in that function has to be indented. So I'm just going to indent them all. And the name is going to have to be returned. So after the while, I'm going to say return name. Now I can put in the main program. So I have a main program down here somewhere. So now I'm going to call that function. I'll call that down here in the main. And so I'll call that, so name. Do it the German way, Namen. Because I don't want it to be the same as name. Otherwise, the global variable could interfere with the local variable. So Namen is equal to what? Is equal to, do the function call. So in other words, we're going to do the function call to get the name. Easy peasy. So far, so good. So we got a function to get the name. Now we can do another function to get the average, right? So again, it doesn't look like oh, you know what? Yeah, CNUM is going to be passed to it. So I'm going to put a C here. This I'm going to put in the main. So it's going to be after the name. So we're going to ask them how many courses they're going to do, and we're going to feed that in there as the number of courses they're going to do. And now, as I said, you can see we can actually take our code, and all I have to do is tab everything. Everything gets one tab. Don't have to write any new code. Very easy, isn't it? So all of this is just getting tabbed once. That only gets tabbed once, and then I'm going to return that. Well, actually, I don't even need a variable called average. I can just replace that with return. So there's our average. I think that's nice. It's readable. You can see what it's doing. We got a function there that gets the name. We got a function that gets the average. The average, we do it the same way we always done it. You know, you have your you start off with your initial variables. Now the C is going to be this thing here instead of count. Oh. No, that's fine. Sorry. C is going to be this thing. That's how many times we're going to do it. We're going to pass in the variable which says how many times to do it. And that's where we're going to do that. So that's going to work okay. All right. What else do we need to do? Okay, so we need to actually calculate that average. So here we got average. So I could just put get, instead of, I can call it inside a print statement. That would be the easiest. So I could just say get average here. and I'm going to pass to it a number of times, which is how many times do you want to do this? So that gets to go, copy that. And that's it. So our main is down here. I've tried to make our main fairly simple. So all that happens in the main is we get a name, but when we get the name, we make sure it's a good name, right? We have this while statement to make sure it's a good name. And then we get the number of courses. We could do something with that too, but all we're doing here is we just take a number. Is it possible that we check that number of courses out? No, don't worry about it. And then we print their thing. And at this point, that's when we call the function here, get average. We pass it a parameter, which is the CNUM, which is how many courses we're going to do it. And it's going to use that to count how many times it's going to do the average function. Easy peasy? Actually, no, it's going to do the average function once, but how many times it adds things to it. So let's run that and see if it works. I'll do it with a clean output. All right, so problem 3, enter your name. We're going to enter a bad name. So we're not allowed to have those. Well, their bad name they put was like that. I could just copy and paste it, couldn't I? Anyway, so that says, please enter a valid name. So we're going to do that. Lowercase. How many courses are you registered with this semester? 4. Now, that's not actually an error, or maybe it is. Name is not defined. So let's go look and see why isn't name, because here I called it Namen. Because name is a local variable. So I need to use the global variable to print it out because I'm in the main, I'm not in the local. So there we go. It's easy to make mistakes like that. And we're going to have 4 classes. And the first class is going to be, I don't know, I'm going to use, we're only taking integers. We're not taking floats. So there we go. So your average is 91. Okay, I think that works. There you go. So any question on that? Now, why did I have a problem with the name? Because name is a local variable and I couldn't print it here. When I tried to print name here, it wouldn't work because local variables are only exist inside the function where they are created. This is created in this function. So it's only while we're doing that function that works. So I had to, and I did that on purpose because I don't want the local variable and the global variable getting mixed up. That can mess up your values and that could be kind of bad. And so we don't want anything bad. So we make the local variable a different than the global variable. How does this program work? The program starts here. What it does is it creates a global variable called Namen. And what Namen does is it takes the output, the return value from getName, which doesn't have any parameters. So in other words, at this point, the program control goes here. It asks you for a name. It tests to see if it's alpha. If it's not alpha, then it will ask you again until you put in a good one. Then when you've got a good one, it will return that. And that will then Namen will take that value. Then we do the same here. Well, this is not calling a function. All it's doing is we create a new variable called CNUM, which we then it takes the value of whatever number, integer number is put in by this person, by this command. Then we call. So here's the thing, right? This is a function call. Do you see that? I put it into a print statement. Why? Because I can. All right, that makes a shorter code. This is the call of the function. because I know that this function, what does it do? It returns it's going to return a float. Anything that's got to divide in a formula to make it happen is going to be a float, right? This is going to return a float. And so I'm going to take that float and convert it to a string and add it to this string and print it. So it's going to be a number. Get average is going to return a number. It takes as an input a number, which is how many courses you got registered. And then that number C is used to control the loop. And then our loop just does something that we've done before 100 times, which is calculate an average. Calculating an average, we initialize our total in our count. Then we, inside a loop, we get a number and we add it to the total. And then we increment our count. And then when we're finished the loop, we divide the total by the count, and that's our average. Okay, I think that's, any questions? Easy peasy? Japanesey, yeah. Okay. So I think I'll stop then. There's nobody